I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, June the 26th, brought to you in part by Legacy Beef Co-op. Join the co-op, become a member, and reserve your harvest spot for $10 a head. They're looking at a July startup for the co-op here and really getting ramped up. I haven't talked to James Timmerman for a little bit, but I'm going to attach my interview with him once again. If you haven't watched it, please take a look at it, get more information, and get joined. For more information, go to legacybeefcoop.com. Another attempt to kill the market. I tell you what, these packers, this market got away from them, and they have done everything but pull a knife to try to get this market under wraps. There's been every kind of rumor started about screw worms or different things going on. Seems like every day there's another rumor going on. Well, the latest rumor now, and there may be some truth to it, is about union strikes at some of the packing plants, and namely Tyson is looking at some union disagreements there, and there's talk of a strike, and they talk about having to shut the plants down and things like that. They've been buying cattle out front here, even though the slaughter's been really tight. They've been buying a lot of cattle out front, and now they've got a lot of cattle stacked up for July with that big holiday right before it. They're going to use that as kind of a stumbling block to try to get around, and now they're looking at buying cattle now are all for late July. Well, that's set this market up for a big downer this week. We'd rumored about maybe a call-in bid in the Southern Plains of 211 early this week, and people were kind of joking about that, saying they'd like to do that because of course last week's market was 228. But now that call-in bid for 211 is no longer there. They're going to take it down this week big time. A lot of the major packers have no bid, and it's Wednesday. They've been buying cattle earlier in the week here of late, but haven't bought any cattle really to amount to anything this week, and have no bids out there. I did hear of a dress bid in the north of 367, and that's not all that bad, even though last week it was 376. But they're going to take a hunk out of this market this week, guys. They're using the 4th of July long holiday there to set this deal up, and they've got a lot of cattle bought for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that's how they do it. I tell you about that every week, the cattle that they bought for 2 to 4 week delivery, and they've got a lot of them out there, and so their needs for current are not that big. I'm coming to you from the Independent Cattlemen's Association convention in San Marcos, Texas here. Was playing golf at their golf tournament on Wednesday morning, and I did not have to carry Justin Tupper around that golf course this year, but our female partners did not play, and we picked up an extra on our team, and it was Chuck Kiker. And it took both me and Justin to carry him around there, and it was hot and sticky, and it was a struggle, guys, but we got through it. But let's look at the board on Wednesday. June live cattle were unchanged at 221.60. That's a long ways back of last week's market. It may not be that far back of this week's market. It just seems like it always plays right into their hands, even though there's no way to make that market come together. August live cattle down 57 cents. If we don't like this week's market, next week's market will be on the spot contract under 209. Guys, think about that. Your back months on live cattle down 70 to up 37. August feeder cattle up a nickel at 302.30. Your cash feeder cattle index is about 311, and it's it's an August contract, so they can jack with it all they want. September up 15 cents at 302.60. Your back months were down 137 to up as much as 10 cents, but a little bit of unevenness there. These grains have been tanking this week, big time. Corn down 5 3/4 cents at 4.10 1/2. Beans down 21 1/4 cents a bushel at 10.25 1/2. And hard red winter wheat right during harvest for them guys sitting in the combine. Isn't that a joy to listen to the market? Down 10 1/2 cents a bushel for July hard red winter wheat at 5.24 1/4. Fat cattle trade. It's Wednesday. Had no trade at all anywhere negotiated in the 5-area feeding region. I mean, they've got their teeth in there, and they are going to take this thing down, guys. A couple of fat cattle auctions. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota had 900 head for their slaughter cattle auction. Fed cattle market was about steady. Conventional fed cattle 234 to 239. Program cattle from 239 to 248. That's still about as high as they've ever been. And they did have dairy beef cross heifers from 234 to 236. That sounds pretty good. How about Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota? 650 head for their slaughter cattle auction. Market was 2 to 4 higher. Conventional fed cattle selling from 235 to 240. And the program cattle or non-implanted or drug-free sell from 241 to 247. They had Holstein steers, straight Holsteins, from $190 to $2, and big fat fed cows from $160 to $170. Box beef cutout values. Choice was up 69 cents at $394.94, and selects down 6.12 after being up big earlier in the week at $376.29. There's that widespread or getting wider between choice and select this time of year, which is normal. But just think about that. It hasn't been very long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, they were giving more for dressed fat cattle than the choice box beef cutouts were. Now this week they're bidding $367, choice box beefs $395 almost. That's how they do it, guys. Let's talk about what else is going on. Superior Steel Sales. They're right there in Carthage, Missouri. They're right next door to Joplin Regional Stockyards. They're right across the interstate from Specialty Risk Insurance. They are your trusted source for pipe, fence, and corral materials. And they have that Superior Standard line. Guys, check out those products. Check out their crowding tubs, loading chutes, gates, cattle guards. I mean, the very best you can buy anywhere. And they've got a lot of other products too. For more information, go to superiorsteelsales.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index, after some really high sales, Bassett, Nebraska had a smoker. I mean, the hottest smokingest sale there has ever been in the history of the world. And it caused that real-time index to end at 313.41, up 361. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index, not including Bassett, was at 310.60. It's just special sales that's going to be worth going to, guys. They've got a big one Friday. It's a replacement sale at Kingsville Livestock Auction. Be on DVAuction.com. And then on Monday, Russell, Iowa, Russell Livestock Market is having a special with a lot of nice feeder cattle on there. It'll be on DVAuction.com. Let's check out your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma. They're a DV auction customer. 6,900 head for them for their 2-day sale, with calves on Tuesday and yearlings on Wednesday. Feeder steers steady to $5 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $7 higher. Steer calves on Tuesday were steady to $3 lower, but the Federal State Market Report said expect 5 weights. They actually said that. I think they meant to say accept, but they said expect 2 different times on that market report. 5-weight steers were $10 higher. Heifer calves unevenly steady, but they had some more of those Speak Ranch cattle in there, about 900 more of them this week. They had 203 of the Speak Ranch steers there, 848 pounds at 317, guys. They hadn't heard about this fat cattle market breaking, but Bassett Livestock Market in Bassett, Nebraska, they spiked the punch once again. People, they let their guard down. They had the big punch bowl back there under the bleachers, and guys just tanked up on it once again. Shane Caxer, I tell you what, he just keeps that stuff behind the seat of his pickup, and he'll spike that punch, guys. They had a smoking sale, 8,100 head, and it was the highest sale feeder cattle auction that has ever been held anywhere, anytime. And it's not even their barbecue. Their barbecue special's coming up after the 4th, guys. But they had no recent comparison, but it was just extremely high. I mean, sharply higher everywhere. Was your Superior Steel Sales, home of Superior Standard livestock equipment. It was a stick-out sale there. Check out these weighted averages throughout. Look at your automated market report through Cattle Market Central. These are all high enough to be individual quotes, and these are all the cattle that sold at the sale. They had 537 head of 5-weight steers, average 545, with a weighted average price of $434.54. Wow. They had 1,226 head of 6-weight steers, average 640 pounds, with a weighted average price of $388.91. 1,055 head of 7-weight steers, average 732. Get this, weighted average price on 1,055 of them of $359.46. Had just 307 head of the 8-weight steers, they averaged 824 at $331.59. Wow. Look at the heifers, and yes, there was some replacement heifers in the heavier weights, but 819 head of 5-weight heifers average 553 at 398.76. 906 head of 6-weight heifers average 642 at 357.69. 626 head of the 7-weight heifers average 763 at 310.69. 508 head of the 8 weights, 880 pound average, 284.01, and 435 head of the 9-weight heifers at Bassett Livestock Auction average 949 with a weighted average price of 273.26. Wow, that was a sale for the ages, guys. Some individual quotes from around Springfield Livestock Marketing Center. They're still the Holstein steer capital of the world, selling Holstein steers. 72 head of them weighed 761 at 255.75. Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota sells 93 steer calves weighed 551 at 425. And the stick out deal from Bassett, and they had some a little bit higher, but it wasn't a big load of them like these. Bassett Livestock, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, 80 head, 722 pound steers bring 370. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.
I'm Corbett Wall with this feeder flash feature. I'm going to be interviewing James Timmerman here with Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef. How are you doing, James?
Good. How are you doing, Corbett?
Now, this is the first time we've met, right?
That's correct.
But the Timmerman name is synonymous with top quality cattle feeding and top quality beef production, right?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and how it ties in with this new venture?
Yes. So my family is, like you said, in the cattle feeding, ranching business. All started with my grandfather in the mid-40s, moved to Omaha, Nebraska, and built a feed yard there to be closer to the stockyards. My dad and his brothers took over the family business and grew it in western Nebraska and eastern Colorado. And they themselves got involved in beef processing in the mid-90s. And so that family legacy really is expanded to 2 brothers and cousins who are in the cattle feeding business. And myself, I kind of chose a little different path and went into beef processing and was in the business for 25 years. And so it's kind of led me here to Legacy Beef Co-op.
So you got a lot of background in this industry. What drew you to Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef?
So I've heard about the project for the last few years and just got a little bit of information. We discussed the co-op model. I thought it was perfect for the industry at this time in kind of the development of beef processing. And so I really wanted to be part of the team, and kind of coincidence, they were needing some assistance with the co-op. And so then in October of 2024, I decided to join Legacy Beef and work on the project.
So last time we were interviewing Chad Tenninger, and you have become involved with him with this venture, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now he has experience in this, and he was telling us about the efficiencies that he's put into this new plant. Do you see these efficiencies and how they're going to help the success of this plant in the long run?
I really do, because a lot of the plants now being developed in the last 4 or 5 years, the technology is really really amplified to where it was, where there's a lot more robotics involved in the actual processing and the sorting of beef products, also in the storage, where it really helps reduce the labor needed for beef processing, which in turn, with labor being the biggest cost, reduce the cost and makes the plant much more efficient.
I see. James, can you give our audience just a kind of an overview of Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef, what we're talking about exactly?
Yes. So Legacy Beef Co-op is the co-op that producers will join and be members of. Cattlemen's Heritage is the beef processing plant being developed near Council Bluffs, Iowa. So the members of Legacy Beef will be equity members in Cattlemen's Heritage, and the equity we raise through the co-op, they will be 20% owners of Cattlemen's Heritage.
So what do you see valuable within the co-op model and eventually the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant?
What I like a lot about the co-op model is that it allows small to medium-sized cattle producers to be involved, one, in a co-op that helps them out in their operations. Plus, I think within the beef industry, I think we do need more producer involvement. So with this model, if you join the co-op and become a member of the co-op, you also have the opportunity to invest in Cattlemen's Heritage Beef as well. So you do have a little bit of equity into cattle and beef production.
So do you think ultimately this type of a model for the beef packing will help keep more smaller farmer feeders in business?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
And that's one thing that drew you to
That's really what draws me to it, is because I do think you hear a lot of stories being out in the country with small producers, anywhere from 2,500 head they feed to even up to 10,000, how they really are looking for better marketing opportunities and really more equitable arrangements compared to the larger feeders in the country.
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the investment model with Legacy Beef Cooperative and where we're at within that?
So the overall investment, we have 5 rounds of investment. Currently, we have sold through the first 2 rounds, so we're in the 3rd round. To what we are currently in right now is what we're calling our seed round, which is giving you the opportunity to reserve your space or shackle space in the investment in Cattlemen's Heritage. So right now, to reserve a spot is $10 per head. We'll reserve a spot in the co-op and you become a member of the co-op. The share price we're currently at in round 3 for the equity investment in Cattlemen's Heritage is $175 per share per shackle space.
Okay. And that's gone up from the first and second.
Correct.
Right?
So it was started at 125 for the first round, 150 for the second. So right now 175, and then round 4 is 200, and round 5 is 225.
Okay.
So there are advantages in getting in currently.
Right. So, but to reserve your spot, you need to be invested in one of the rounds at least, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, is there a maximum or a minimum of your spots that you can reserve?
The minimum would be, we say there's no minimum, but the best really is one load. So we do have members who are buying 40 shares just for
Just
one
for a
load a
load of
year.
cattle?
Yes, and there is no maximum.
Okay. And that's annually. So if you bought 40, you could send one load of fed cattle into the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So you've got a key date coming up here this summer. Tell me about July 1st and what that's going to kick off.
That's correct, Corbett. On July 1st, we are really going to start the co-op on an operational basis. So we are going to start offering members marketing opportunities for the cattle that are part of the co-op. Also look at ways that we can help them on their purchasing power. And really what the goal with that co-op starting on July 1st is really to give the small to medium producers the same, put them on the same level playing field as the big feed yards.
I see. So these shares, once you purchase them, they're going to have value, right? And will you be able to market them among other shareholders?
Yes. So really the way we have it structured is that per share that you purchase, you are obligated to deliver the animal. Then if you feel like you cannot make the delivery, then you do have the ability to lease those shares out to other members of the co-op that they can, you can have some value owning these shares and you can have cattle delivered on those shares.
We've seen something similar to this with U.S. premium beef in Kansas. So, and that those shares have become pretty valuable. Do you see that happening with this venture?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. What kind of cattle are we looking to harvest at Cattlemen's Heritage Beef? Do you have a target?
Currently, we don't have a specific target, but as most beef processors, we're looking for a high grade, high quality beef. But really, we're not going to specify exactly what we need to have delivered.
So, James, this whole venture has kind of been based off of marketing the cattle off of the dressed beef price rather than the live market or the way some of your big four packers price the cattle or purchase the cattle. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. So we are looking for the pricing the cattle is using the USDA choice market as the base and plan on gridding the cattle with premiums and discounts based off USDA choice, which is different than buying them live or buying them just dressed beef.
Right. And the market's been really good. All-time record highs here posted within the last few months on every class of cattle that there is. But that's not going to last forever.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
we may be able to insulate some of these producers from the downside of this going forward, don't you think?
Yes, yes. We feel like, really with the pricing model we have in place for the cattle, it gives protection because you're going to be paid what the plant is selling you beef for. So you really get the true value of your beef.
I see. So you're basically going to be sharing more of the pie than what cattle feeders are used to, the way things have been set up, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Great.
Yes.
So this is primarily set up for smaller feeders. Of course, a bigger feeder could get involved in it too. But how many cattle are we looking to harvest annually?
So annually, we're looking to harvest about 525,000 head annually. So 2,000 head a day on one shift per day.
So is that how many shares there's going to be put out then is 525,000
That's correct.
annually?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so all of those cattle. So you won't be having to get short of cattle and be looking for them. You'll know that they're coming. How will you schedule the cattle in?
The way I look at it is that really once you know your cattle are ready to come in, you need to call us. We'll schedule based on really first come, first serve. If you call, we'll put your If we know the week your cattle are ready, we'll schedule them. But we also will probably need to go out on the market some in certain months, especially in the summer,
Just to fill some
to
gaps.
fill in some
I
gaps.
see. Okay. Now, you're also looking at producers further in the line to maybe fill some of these gaps, and you've got a cow-calf program or a cow-calf producer program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So we are looking and visiting with cow-calf producers all throughout the country. And as you know, the market right now, they are selling their calves with a pretty good profit. But as we also know that the market there will be a downturn. So what we are really is targeting with cow-calf producers is that they become members of the co-op. They own the shares, so it really gives them a lot of flexibility based on the market. Either they can sell their calves like they currently are now, and then lease their shares out to the feeders who buy them. But then the cow calf would still get benefits of ownership in terms of delivery fees and equity. But they also gives them a little protection that if they want to retain ownership in their calves, they can feed them out and then have somewhere to go that will still give them a hedge and true value of what their carcasses are worth.
Right. So Legacy Beef Cooperative has pretty much all been set up to get the investment and get the core to get Cattlemen's Heritage Beef going, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have a time frame on Cattlemen's Heritage Beef when we think we would have that going and could start harvesting some cattle?
Currently, we are still scheduled to start groundbreaking towards the end of this year, which would it's a 2-year construction project, so probably the beginning of 2028. But as we explore market conditions, especially in the next few months, and look at heifer retention, we do also have the ability to delay a little bit and open when the market conditions seem more advantageous.
As tight as packer margins are right now, I wouldn't blame you by
Yes.
dragging your feet just a
No.
little bit. So might be better for the whole project if you do.
Yes, yes.
But it's just it's right on the horizon here. I mean, it'll be here before you know it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So of the 5 rounds of investment, we've made it through the first 2, and then we're working on the 3rd round. How much longer do you think it'll take to finish that up?
Well, our goal for the next round really is to have it completed by July 1st,
Okay.
and then move on to the next.
I see. So if we've got some listeners that are interested in investing into Legacy Beef Cooperative, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you guys and see what they want to do?
Well, the best way to get a hold of us is go to our website, which is www.legacybeefcoop.com, and there is a submission form where you can send us your information. You can email me directly at james@legacybeefcoop.com or call me at 531-375-6559.
Well, we're moving right along on this Legacy Beef Cooperative investment, and it won't be long before we're going to have groundbreaking on this Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant. It's an exciting new venture, the efficiencies we've talked about, and it was great to get to talk to you and learn more about this project.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad I could share it with you.
Until next time, I'm Corbett Wall with this Feeder Flash feature.